the grief and the trauma and the impact that my son's death has had on me. And I wanted to share my thoughts with you about life 90 days later. 90 days, 3 months since my son has gone to heaven. And I've learned a lot. I have realized quite a few things about people, about the world, about death. And I want to give you my thoughts in hopes that I pray you will never have to go through a tragedy of this sort, but you may have to go through things in your life that really shake your world at some point. And you might not know how to cope. You might feel lost and hopeless and not really know where to go after the incident, the tragedy, the circumstances, the heartbreak happens. And I have learned so much about myself, and I believe that it can also help you as well. So, without further ado, welcome back. And my son's death, of course, was very unexpected. That's the first thing. I think when someone that you know and love dies by suicide, it's really confusing, first of all, because it's not like he was sick and he was given a diagnosis of only months or years to live. And on top of that, there were no signs, at least to me anyway, that he was depressed. And if you go back to my other videos and you listen to what I was saying in some of those, he was always a very happy-go-lucky kid. Um, he never fit in school and didn't have very many friends growing up. But I would not say that he was clinically depressed. Now, of course, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I cannot diagnose that anyway, right? But he was a loner and he was very introverted. And like I said in prior videos, we all just thought that's just Jared. That's just who he is. But never ever did I place that in the same category as suicide. You know, he never talked about it, never hinted at it, never threatened it, of course, never attempted it before. So when he died, my brain was like, well, wait, did he really though? Like, did this really happen? Because there were no prior signs that would make me think that he was going to be a statistic. So that's the first thing. So after, I went through the confusion and accepted that this actually was my new reality, the second thing that you do as a survivor of grief is you start to question everything that you did or didn't say to the person that died. You start replaying your last convos, your last texts, and then your brain goes into your long-term memory and starts searching through past incidents or past memories that you try to analyze and say, well, could I have stopped it? Did I see this sign? Were there clues before everything happened? And so you start to really question the past and say, well, if I would have called more, if I would have texted more, if I would have checked in on the person more, if I would have told them I loved them more, then they would still be here today. And that is actually called survivor's guilt. And it's a very common symptom to have after someone that you love dies unexpectedly. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that it's a very lonely time. I feel, and I have been feeling very isolated from the experience, even though I know I'm not the only parent to ever go through this, and I won't be the last one, unfortunately. I know there are many moms and many dads who have gone through or are currently going through the same thing. But people around me in my town, in my world, are not going through the tragic loss of a child by suicide. So a lot of people, most people actually don't understand. And of course, when it first happens, people are, flooding my social media and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. And if there's anything I can do, let me know. But very rarely will those same people stick around 90 days later. Most of those people, if not all of them, are gone now. They've moved on with their own lives as they should. But I would say there's only been two people out of the many that messaged me, called, and texted when Jarrett passed that still check in on me. So it is very lonely. And if you're not careful, that loneliness can lead you into your own depression and your own isolation, if you will. It makes you feel like you're the only one that's going through it, like you're struggling by yourself, because really nobody else understands. And there are even a few that really don't care. They might have empathy for you, but the majority of people are focused on themselves, their own lives. And you may cross their mind from time to time, and this is just the harsh truth, but they're not going to sit there and focus on you enough to call and check in unless they're a real close family member or a best friend, a longtime childhood friend, or something like that. But people that you just know casually are probably not going to care anymore. And that's unfortunate, but very true. So if you ever do experience a tragedy, you need to know that people will come to your aid initially, but they will eventually taper off after a few weeks. Number 4 is that the majority of people, and I'm talking about relationship wise, if you're in a relationship aside from marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, long-term lover, friend with benefits, they might get a little afraid. They might get a little scared of what you're going through because they might not know the best way to approach you now to help you through it. And they just might end up leaving you. And on a personal note, that's exactly what happened to me. I was talking to a man that I had been seeing for 2.5 years prior to Jarrett's death. And we were together. We called ourselves boyfriend, girlfriend. There were talks of marriage. And the night that I called him and told him about the tragedy, he became very quiet and got more and more distant and eventually disappeared. And now it's been about 2 months and I have not heard from him at all. He blocked me on all social media and he no longer calls or texts me. And that's a very hurtful thing because we were talking regularly and we were together all the time before this happened. But what I've realized is that a lot of men, especially if they've never gone through something that is this life-changing, they really don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to help because they know that the recovery and the healing from this is going to be very hard and very long. And most men, quite frankly, just don't want to deal with that. So they just peace out. And so hopefully this won't happen to you, but you should expect it because it's something that very well could happen where it's not that people don't want to be by your side, but they feel like emotionally or spiritually or mentally, they cannot help you, nor do they want to go through a tragedy with you, right? Because it's just too draining mentally. So that's another thing that you have to be aware of. The next thing I would say is that people are not going to grieve with you. Grief is a very lonely road, folks. Very long and lonely journey. And, I know personally, I've woken up many days and I've thought, damn, everybody just seems to not give a fuck. Everybody's going on about their lives, going back to work, going on vacations with their families, going to the gym, just going about life. and I'm over here suffering. Doesn't everybody know that my son is gone? Don't you people care? But the reality is, grief is a very lonely road. And it's important that you get the care and the support from people that are trained to help you: therapists, grief counselors, psychologists, maybe psychiatrists, because you're probably going to need to be on some meds for a little bit. I know personally my sleep has gotten so jacked up that I'm currently on a regimen for sleep meds that I'm actually trying to taper and get off of, because it's not good for me to be on these long term. But I've had to, deal with new anxiety that's arisen from all of this. I've had to deal with a couple panic attacks that came out of nowhere that I wasn't anticipating. I've tried to change and alter my entire lifestyle, from walking more, doing more workouts, meditating more, journaling. So you have to understand that people are not going to care. They're going to slowly taper off. Your lifestyle is going to be changed. And nobody is really going to understand the grief. So surround yourself with people that get it, right? Give yourself time, give your brain patience. Be patient with yourself as you slowly move your way back into the world, because your life matters. Your healing matters, your recovery matters just as much as the person that you lost. So 90 days later, man, do I miss my son. Man, I miss that kid. But, I got his phone from the police department. They recovered it that night and kept it as evidence till I could get it back. And my son took so many selfies, which of course I cherish them so much now. But I'm going through his phone looking at these gorgeous, handsome pictures of him. And now I have all of his face for memories that I can look at. And it's just so rewarding. It's such a blessing. And I cherish them greatly. And I've decided I'm going to become a speaker. I'm going to go and I'm going to speak on platforms. I'm going to speak in groups. I'm going to share his story, his life, my story, my life, everything that I've been through, everything that I've endured and survived and overcome. I'm going to make sure the world knows his name, and I'm going to keep his memory alive. The devil would love nothing more than for me to just close my son's life, close those chapters and say, well, he was here. He was my son. But God has a plan. Yes, God has a purpose. And I know that purpose is for my son's legacy to help others, whether it be talking about depression, raising awareness on suicide. My slogan for my life now going forward is words matter. Your words matter. The words that you speak, the words that you text, the words that you say to someone on social media, the words that you comment under someone's post, the words that you send in a Facebook direct message, words matter. And I know they mattered with my son. And I don't know, something about that slogan just speaks so strongly with me. It's so simple, but so powerful. So my goal, I'm determined, is to keep my son's name out there. Jarrett Neely. Everybody's going to know you, honey. Jarrett Neely. So stick with me, folks. I'm getting back into the weekly pods again. I just needed a break. I needed a mental break. I needed an emotional reset. But I'm coming back, and I'm going to start back with my weekly podcast. But thank you guys so much for listening, for being here, and for always supporting the Restart Podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.